All right, welcome in. This is a series I'm doing called Tune Tutorials, where I teach you how to play your favorite tunes on the piano. Today we're learning the beginner version to Dire Dire Docks from Super Mario 64. Let's get started. So what I'm going to teach today are just the two main melodies that you hear throughout, or you could call it the A section and the B section. So you'll be learning this today. And then this. And then of course it repeats. So let's dive in. I'm going to show you where you should place your hands, what notes you should be playing, and give some introductory theory just so you have an understanding of it. So the first thing we need to focus on are where our hands are going on the piano. We're going to be working a lot with something I call five-finger position. You might have heard this before if you've ever taken other piano lessons or if you're working with me. What we're going to do is we're going to put our 5 fingers on certain notes that are all next to each other. We're going to start with the white notes. And for this, we're going to start with our pinky in our left hand on G here, and then our thumb on D. And the 5-finger pattern just means that all of our fingers are in order and they're not skipping different notes. They're not doing anything weird like that. They're just one after the other, right? And we're dealing with the white notes allows us to put a finger on each note. And we're going to do that in the left hand. We're also going to do that in the right hand with the thumb on G and then the pinky on D. Notice how they mirror each other, right? We have thumb here, G, thumb here, D, and then we have pinky here, G, pinky here, D. Same notes. They span the same interval. And what that interval is a perfect fifth. You don't need to remember that for this piece, but it's always good to know. The next thing we have to consider is the meter and the rhythm. Meter meaning how the beats kind of feel next to each other and how many of them there are in a pattern. And then of course the rhythm being what's the rhythm of the notes? How often do things happen within the meter? So this first section, we just need to know two different kinds of rhythms. We need to know the faster rhythm and the slower rhythm. We hear this. We should be hearing faster to slower. And I kept clapping the longer rhythm. So you hear how the rhythms fit into each other. That's really good to keep your time when you're playing the piece, especially if you want to play along with the track or something. I'm hearing each, we could call them a measure or a bar, each time the chord changes, and it kind of goes like this. And then back up. Right? And that's just a good way if you're unfamiliar or if you're not as comfortable with like learning rhythm or meter or hearing it yet. Just listen for when the notes, the big notes change in the left hand, and that will be your section that we can work with. In the first measure, as I'll call it, we have just a constant rhythm. We have a constant rhythm, so that's something that's good to know. Here's what the first measure is. We have our 5-finger positions on both hands. Our pinky and our thumb in our left hand are going to play this. Right, G, D, or finger 5, finger 1. And that's going to go in that same exact rhythm, going to go into the next hand, which is just going to play from the thumb to the 4th finger on C, all the way back down, like this. That's it. Now, that might be something that you're still going to have to work on, right? This motion is something to practice, so you can isolate that by yourself. Make sure that that feels really comfortable. Kind of go back and forth, right? And another thing, probably the harder part of this, is playing. So what you're going to want to do to really learn this, is to just do that over and over, many, many times, slowly. And even if you have to go slower than that, that's what you have to do, because you have to build the muscle memory, right? If you can do it 50 times perfectly, slowly, you'll be able to do it fast, no problem. You'll be able to do it at tempo. And I say 50 times, that's a big commitment. Well, there's no way around it. This is just what we have to do. So if at any point when you're practicing this and you're learning this, you stumble and you get to a point where you can't do something, pause the video, practice that. Make it part of your habit every single day. Warm up like this. Or slower. If you keep doing this, you'll get it one day. And you just have to commit to it. Once we get that, then we can put the two hands together. Right? And I have a little crunchy note at the end, but that is correct. It does sound crunchy, and that's okay. And if we think about the counting, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, when we get to that next 1, that's where the notes change, which is what your left hand does next, which is just move your 5-finger position down one set of white notes. And that's it. And then we're on to the second measure. This is where the rhythm changes. It gets half as fast. The tempo is the same, the speed of the song is the same, but the rhythm slows down in half. So that's why we have to have a good understanding of the rhythm. Once we're here, our 5-finger position in our left hand has to extend. Our thumb has to extend to D, and then it hits C. So it goes like this. Those are the next two notes. Right? So then all together. Right? Okay, good. Practice that. Pause the video, practice that. Get used to doing that. Do that 5, 10, 15, 20 times until it's very comfortable. Once that's back, I assume you've paused. Once that's back, we're here. The next note is going to actually be with the right hand. It's going to be this G, but we have to change our hand position to make the following music make sense. So we're here, thumb, thumb, right hand comes up in the same rhythm, pinky on G. And then first finger on D. Okay, so if we are counting along with our beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's our 1 again, so we know that that has to mean a left-hand note changes. So when we get to this D, we play this E flat. And this sounds really crunchy, but don't worry, it'll resolve. So let's practice that in context. And notice how I am playing the E flat with my middle finger. That's to help us as we go, but that's coming. So in total, this is what we have. So far. Now, this is the beginner version, so there's a lot of other things that are happening in between what we're about to do going forward. It's going to sound like we're resting a lot and counting out aloud a lot and all these things, but we'll fill that in the more advanced version as we go. But this is the core of it. This is what we have to learn first. So once we're here, then we count to 4. We count a whole measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again a whole nother measure. 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And notice what I'm doing is I'm here, 3, fingers 2, fingers 1, and I'm just going this way together, coming together. Now you might have to practice like that, that's fine, and then practice like this. Hearing those separately and then putting them together. And that's it, we're almost done with the first melody. Is where we're at. This is where we're at. Now when we get here to the thumbs on G and B, we have to do this. The left hand's done, it just holds it down. Thumb here, first finger here, pinky here. So coming from this. And the rhythm of these 3 notes That's the faster rhythm that we played in the very first measure. So whatever rhythm that you play, whatever speed you play this at, you play this. And you can remember that. You're smart. You can do it. So the whole first section sounds like this. There you go. That's the first section. Now there are other little things you can embellish a little bit. I could do something like if we like that sound, you'll hear that in there, but that's going to be covered in the more advanced version. Second section, the B section, I would say. We have two things happening, left hand, right hand, as most times in piano. What I'm going to show you is just the left hand notes first. And they go like this. C, B, A, G. C, B, B flat, A. And we'll stop there. Now, that might seem like a lot of notes that happen really quick, but they don't happen very fast. They only happen on the beginnings of each measure. So we'll count to 4. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. It's a long time, so we'll see as we go in. Now, counting is important because the right hand melody, or the right hand melody, it comes in fragments. And the first fragment sounds like this. And then the second fragment sounds like this. And then the third fragment is the same as the first. And then the fourth fragment gets a little tricky. So let's look at that. Each time, the right hand melody starts on beat 3. So if we count 1, 2, and then you play every single time, the left hand starts on beat 1. So the left hand would go left hand, 2, right hand. So it'd be like this. Does that make sense? Now let's look at the notes. We've put our 5-finger position on C this time with our thumb on C. Then we can play on the fingering. We can play 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, and then that was the first time. So notice how I end together, right? Because it's 3 and 4 and 1, 3 and 4 and 1. Also, I like this counterpoint that we get the whole time. Is really nice. And then to play the second fragment, you just take your 5-finger position and you move it down 1 white note, and you still play a very similar fingering. 3, 2, 1, 2, 1 this time. So together. It repeats. Same thing. Right? And then we get to here. Now, oh my goodness, that is just a mess. Practice the first couple of fragments first before you go on to the very last one. I know you're going to want to finish it out, but it's the last push that we have to do. Make sure is very good first. The final part is with the right hand, we want to move you can think of it as a 5-finger position starting on G here, but you're going to start with your 4th finger. It's also a very similar little motif that we were just hearing. We're going to go 4, 5, 4, 3, or C, D, C, B. That's the first half. And then we're going to do a skip to here, and then a skip to here. Now this might feel like a really big stretch for your fingers. That's totally fine. You might just have to practice it. Go really slow. Right there. And that's it. A great way to remember when this particular happens is, well, it's the last time, but also if you practiced your left hand really well, when you hit the B flat, that's the time that you do this one. Notice my placement of the A as well. It comes right after the B. It's very syncopated. I know this is the beginner version. There's so many crazy rhythm things, but if you just do it really slowly, and I'm going to do it really slowly so you can just learn it that way, you'll be able to get it. Those are complicated rhythms, yes, but you can learn them by ear. Your ears are smarter than your brain sometimes. I think that makes sense. Right? So that whole B section, well, together, will sound like this. And then we're back, of course. And that's exactly how it connects. So once you can do all of that in the B section, then you can practice jumping over and practicing the transition. It's not going to work perfectly the first time. You're going to have to practice it slowly, practice it on your own, practice it with me, whatever you need to do, but it's not going to happen right away. So you got to put the time in, and then it'll pay off. Okay, so now I want to play for you exactly what you're going to practice so that you can practice along with me if that helps, or at least have a full reference to the entire tune. And if you want to play along, I'll give you four low Gs right before we start. Okay, and that's Dire Dire Docks, the beginner version. If today was helpful for you and you enjoyed this sort of process, keep checking back for more. Hit subscribe because that really helps the channel out. You'll see more of these videos. Make sure you turn on that notifications button. Let me know what you thought about this in the comments. Also, if you're looking for more discussion on this, if you have specific questions that you might want help on, join my Discord. There is a specific channel in there dedicated to tune tutorials. Also, follow me on Twitch for notifications when I go live there. I'm going to be teaching these sorts of tunes in full live for you. So check that out and happy practicing.